Welcome everybody to Spirituality Adventures. This is a non-judgmental place to explore spirituality, and we're so glad you're here. This is a viewer and listener supported podcast, so we greatly appreciate your support. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe to any of the social media content platforms that you're using. And then if you go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, you can make a one-time donation, or with a monthly subscription, you'll gain access to our bonus content. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. All right, everybody, welcome to Spirituality Adventures. We're so glad you joined us today. We are excited to have Bereket, Mamo. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Say it for us.
You can say Bereket Mamo.
Bereket Mamo. Right. We are on location in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. And I met Bereket just, 6 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
I think
3 weeks ago?
Yeah. At least a month.
A month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a friend of mine in Kansas City heard about Bereket. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
And wanted me to meet her just because of my connections in Ethiopia. And so I said, well, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. We ended up having coffee. And we are right now on location with a ministry that she and her husband started a year ago maybe?
Yeah.
A year ago. And she's working, well, we're going to explain that to you in a little bit, but she's working with homeless women here in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And so we had a delightful conversation. I was actually, for those of you who remember, I interviewed Bobby Joe Reed from the Healing House, and I was able to introduce her to Bobby Joe, and her heart and Bobby Joe's heart seem really, really similar. So for those of you who heard my Bobby Joe, or if you missed the Bobby Joe interview, go back and watch the Healing House interview, and I think you'll really enjoy that. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's start by just getting a little bit of your story, like your story of origin.
Yes.
You know, where you were born, where you grew up, how you came to America, and then how you came back here, right? So give us your origin story.
Okay, yeah, so I was born in Ethiopia, here in the capital, Addis Ababa. And I moved to Maryland when I was about 7 years old. My parents were a total of 7 children, but I was number 7.
Wow.
So, God had just, he cleared the path for us to also go to the United States through my dad.
Okay.
So
did your family have a faith background when you grew up?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
They were Christians just since I was born. I knew Jesus, and I knew just the love of Jesus since I was very little. So that's why I've always wanted to know more of him and more of his love. So I've begun to just even pray and just ask God, what am I doing on earth? Why am I here? So even just a heart for missions in general, that was just in my heart since I was very little. So, yeah.
So did you guys have a home church here in Addis Ababa?
So although I was 7 years old, I do remember in Addis, right? My parents would invite a lot of their neighbors and just show the Jesus film. I mean, that was a long time ago. Right. And I just remember people just giving their lives to Jesus and crying and weeping and just feeling God's presence in that place. Yeah.
I remember when the Jesus film came out. And it was being shown around the world. I think they translated that Jesus film into
many different languages.
Hundreds of languages. Hundreds of languages. And I think at the time, in a window of time, it was one of the most effective strategies of people coming to Christ. And they would even roll up into villages that didn't have electricity and all that kind of stuff, and they would even
show it through the solar. There's a solar system.
Solar panels, generators, whatever. And so sometimes people are watching for the first time a motion picture, and then seeing the life of Jesus, the crucifixion, the resurrection, all those things. So
and I just remember that being played in our house all the time here. And then we just moved to the States, so I still had that I don't know. I guess the love of Jesus, since I was little, was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Very powerful for sure.
And you were 7 when you moved to America?
Yeah.
And your whole family?
My whole family.
And you were the youngest?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys landed in
Maryland.
Maryland.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were in the DMV area most of the time, the DC, Virginia, Maryland, and they're still there. So all my family, my parents' kids, they all have husbands and wives, and they have children, and yeah.
So you have a lot of family in Maryland, but
A lot, yes.
your mom and dad actually live in where?
Kansas City.
Kansas City, in Gladstone.
Yes.
So for those of you who are Kansas City folks watching this.
Yeah. And then I have several in North Carolina, like some of my siblings.
All right.
Yeah.
So did you jump into public schools kind of like right away?
Right, yeah. Yep.
And were you already speaking English from Addis, or was that?
So we were very young, and my dad used to have like a mentor for us when we were here, just so we can like at least pick up like English words, but we were only speaking Amharic. So I had to adjust to not only to the culture, but to the language, and just so many different things at a very young age. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming from Addis, there's things when I come here that I'm going, oh my God, something. I love the country, right? I've been coming for 20 years. Mm-hmm. But there's some things that just drive me a little bit crazy. Mm-hmm. You were young, so 7 years old. Yeah. 7-year-olds are a little more flexible than like somebody my age, right?
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Were there things
adapted really well. Fast,
yeah, I'm curious. Like, were there things that you can remember experiencing that you disliked, and were there things that you really loved? I'm just kind of curious from your childhood perspective.
Yeah. So when we moved, it was around December. So it was snow. So I just remember being a 7-year-old girl looking at ice, like white ice. I was like, what? Like, never seen that. So it was like beautiful.
By the way, Addis is 8,000 feet in elevation. Right?
Yes.
But it doesn't really snow much, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen snow here.
Yeah. So you're seeing snow for the first time.
First time, yeah.
And did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it.
It's like mesmerizing.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Did you get out in it?
Oh yeah, we played, and like my parents were like, like, no, we're not gonna, they were scared or something. But we were just out at the outdoors and just like playing with the snow. And it was Christmas, so we have all that, just Christmas memories as a kid. Yeah. So we really I think we just fit it into the culture really well because we were very young. Although it was, it's hard on anyone to have such a different cultural shock as well. So things like I experienced in the public school, I would come home and just try to adjust to like my parents' expectation of getting really good grades or just being really like making like the American dream worth it, like because we came here, we paid all this price for you to come, and just now you have to make it worth it, So that there's a lot of pressure for that, and just getting better grades. But we're trying to adjust just all of these differences. So we didn't receive a lot of grace, like not from my parents, but just in general. Like, oh my goodness, there's so many things to adjust to. But yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious, like when you were, first emerging into the American culture, did you have an Ethiopian community that you kind of connected with that helped you with that a little bit, or were you guys pretty pioneer for your whole family?
We did not. We're, especially now though, there's so many different like Eritreans, Ethiopians that live in the DMV area. I'm talking about maybe millions, but like before it was just, yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It seems like I'm pretty good at, like when I'm in America, wherever I go, I'm pretty good at like going, I can just look at somebody and go, I bet you that's an Ethiopian.
You start picking that up?
And I'm about 95% right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Have you been around, well, you've been back and forth. Maybe,
for 20 years. I came the first time in 2002.
Oh, okay.
And so you were still here as a young child. And so I've been going back and forth many times, and so it's made me tune into the Ethiopian culture in America, right? Yeah. So like if you came to Kansas City, there's a 5 minutes, there's a Romo evangelical church for me. You can go down south in Overland Park and find a Ethiopian Orthodox church. There's Ethiopian restaurants, and so there's a pretty robust Ethiopian community where if you immigrated now, you'd have a little bit of a
That's true.
of a home.
Oh, yeah.
But
There's
when you
so many
guys
people-
went,
no.
you really didn't have that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're on your own.
Yeah. But we did connect with there's a huge Ethiopian church in the DC area. So my parents were very strong, again, with their faith. So we would go there like every Sunday. And really, we have like different conferences. The Ethiopian church will do a lot of worship and just a lot of that.
No.
So we were very connected to that after. So it wasn't too hard.
When I came over here, like I felt like even the Baptists and the Mennonites were charismatic or Pentecostal.
Yes.
Like they all got into the worship. I was jumping up and down.
It doesn't matter what denomination you are. You're jumping and you're yelling.
And which was fun. I loved it.
Yeah.
So, so you were in public schools through elementary,
all
junior
through high
school.
school.
So you graduated from one of the high schools in which
Maryland.
city?
In Germantown, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many were in your graduating class?
We're big. I can't remember. But
Big school?
Yeah,
Okay.
big school. Yeah.
And you were already thinking of going to college?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That wasn't even an option, probably, right?
No.
You will go to college,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So which college did you pick?
So I ended up going to Messiah University. It was a college when I was going. So I applied to become like a medical doctor because that's what you do when you're,
Pre-med track.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I was saying to you, since a very young age, I think God has put missions in general in my heart, just going out and talking about Jesus anywhere. You can still do that when you're a doctor. But for me, it was like, no, I want you to completely just be in this route. So go and change your degree to Christian ministries.
So you were literally feeling called
Yeah.
to some kind of ministry when you were pretty young.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember like going back from the admissions office to my dorm room and going back again because I called my dad and I said, hey, like I'm going to change my major. And like my dad I thought he was going to be very upset because they paid a lot of price for us to get to that point. But he said, like we've done everything. Now you just have to listen to your Father in heaven. So he made the choice a lot less hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up getting my first degree in Christian ministries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any other family members that are in like full-time Christian ministry? Any pastors in your family?
Oh yeah. So my sister husband, he's a pastor. He's a pastor to a very small Ethiopian church in the Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
But most all of us are in some type of ministry. Maybe not full time, but maybe we have worship leaders. We have so many different. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that is in full time ministry right now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So Messiah College, I'm thinking, is a Christian college. Is that right?
It is.
I'm guessing
it's
by the name.
It's a private Christian college. Yes.
Okay. And
very small.
Is it connected with any kind of denomination at all?
I think Brethren.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So interesting.
Yeah.
That could be pretty conservative.
Oh, yeah, very conservative, but not as much as I thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. You could wear pants?
Oh, yeah.
Every now and then you get some of these really, really uptight Christian places where like especially people my age, if they went to a school that was Christian, you could, I even went to Baylor. It was a huge Christian university as Baptist. So like you couldn't dance on campus, no alcohol on campus. There were just certain
you can't have. I don't think you can have alcohol.
You could have sororities and fraternities, but not on campus. They had to be like the houses had to be off campus and all.
How was that for you?
It was interesting. I wasn't really. I felt called to be a pastor when I was 16.
Oh, okay.
So I went there very focused. So I really wasn't into the fraternity thing. I was working 30 hours a week, taking full-time load, then I was going to seminary and then I was going into the ministry kind of thing. So I had a very focused ministry track in my life kind of a deal. So you graduated from Messiah with Christian ministry degree, and then what did you do after that?
So before I graduated, I went to Uganda when I was a sophomore. Okay. And that's, again, when I really was like, I love Africa. Like, I don't remember it, again, when I was 7, but like, I was like, when I went back, I was like, I feel like this is where I'm supposed to come back to. So it was just like a kind of revelation as a sophomore. So I was there for 4 months, part of like an exchange study abroad program that my school had.
Okay.
And it was amazing. I had a really good time with my host family there. They just treated me like I was there, like one of their daughters. But what was very interesting is they were very, economically poor, right? But they were spiritually very, very wealthy. Like you can feel God's presence and you just know there's something very different in that house. So I was like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be. So after I finished that study abroad program, I went back to Messiah, finished my school, and then I went to India for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And for me, that was another, I was like, I like
What
Africa.
part of India?
I was in South India with a very small tribe called the Banjara tribe.
Okay.
Very amazing. Again, loved my experience there.
Would this been a Hindu background?
Mostly Hindu? Yeah. But my whole family, they were Christians. But you know the difference between Christians and Hindu when you're in India, right? Like it's very obvious, very different.
Sure. Just the dress alone, right?
Just everything, yeah. But I had such a good time there. I loved India so much. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a place where a lot of Christians need to go and really spread the gospel. Very maybe difficult place to go to, but people who are very, very, really good people there. So, but it was very different being Ethiopian, American, and then going to India, being a single woman, like all of this. There's so many things that are against you, but you just learn to just keep going.
Yeah. How long were you in India?
6 months.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What was the main language there? Did you?
Telugu. Telugu. I hope I'm saying it right.
Did you learn a little bit?
I did.
Basic conversation?
They taught me, how to say shut up. That's bad. But I was like, I don't know why my host sister was like, let me teach you a bad word. I was like, okay.
Those are the first ones you always learn wherever you go.
I think so.
It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. So coming back from India then,
yeah.
What was your next step?
India was actually part of my master's program. So I got my master's in economic development. Yeah. At Eastern University,
right.
Another very private Christian school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't an East Coast guy.
Okay.
So I grew up in Kansas City. I went to Baylor. I went to Southwestern Baptist Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. So I had 8 years in Texas. But I did go out to Virginia.
Okay.
And was pastor out there for 3 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Before I moved back to Kansas City and started a church in 1990 in Kansas City.
Okay.
So I did live on the East Coast about 3 years. But, I didn't learn all. There's so many colleges on the East Coast. But Eastern I had become aware of because of Tony Campolo.
Oh, yeah.
And another graduate from there, or Tony taught there, and then a guy named Shane Claiborne went to Eastern. I think Tony was one of his mentors. And I've really enjoyed Shane's
amazing
ministry.
guy, very amazing. Yep.
A really big heart for the poor and the homeless and, the marginalized and outcast and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So I meet another Eastern grad. You did your master's there?
I did, yes.
And after that, where did it take you?
So after that, I just started praying. I was like, God, I know you have put some kind of heart for me for the poor, right? So I feel like Jesus was with the poor. He spent a lot of times with the poor. So I've always wanted to know, how can I do that, right? How can I be the hands and feet of Jesus on earth? And I know there's a lot of people dying. I know there's a lot of marginalized people. I know there's a lot of oppression. We live in a broken world. But I was like, how can I help at least one person? I wasn't thinking of any extreme end. So I just began to pray. I think that's where everything starts. Yeah. So as I was praying, I really felt like the Lord was asking me to read John 4. About the story with the Samaritan woman and how Jesus interacts with her and says, give me water. He came to her as a person that was in need, right? So he told himself, right? I'm gonna approach her with a mentality of not what can I do for you, but what you can do for me. And what she said to him is like, why are you talking to me? You're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan. So she spoke about the differences, right? About just the ethnic difference. Also just her being a woman and him being a man, like that interaction in public is not even acceptable culturally.
Yeah.
But what she says to him, no, what he says to her was very amazing. He says, if you knew the gift of God, if you knew who was asking, you would have asked him and he would have given you the springs of living water. And I was like, okay, God, what does that mean? But I felt like the Lord was asking me to go to Ethiopia, straight to Ethiopia. And I don't know if I don't know if it was in a dream or when I was praying, I did see Jesus giving water to women and children. Again, I don't know who, like, I can't say it was Jesus or anything, but that's what I felt. Again, I don't know if it was a dream or a vision. So I went straight to Ethiopia with a one-way ticket.
Wow.
And I don't have any family. 2018.
2018. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So that was.
And all your family was in Maryland.
All of them, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So you moved back here and found a little apartment somewhere?
But no, my thing, it's so amazing. I think this is a God thing. My dad was actually here for that year because my parents they want to retire here. So he was here. You know how a lot of the local Ethiopians, actually diasporas is what they call them, when they've lived in the States for a long time, most of the elderly, they'd rather come and just retire here. So my parents my dad was here just looking and surveying where they can retire. So he already had an apartment. So he had an extra room I can just stay. Okay. And yeah, that's.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So you met somebody special.
I did.
While you were here.
Yes.
Whom I just met just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Tell us give us a little love story real quick.
Okay. Yeah. So I met my husband, His name's Was. So how I met him was through, so he works for an InterVarsity, and the Ethiopian, it's called Ivasu. Okay. So basically they work with college campuses and talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
So when I came to Ethiopia, the first thing that people told me to do is, since I don't know anyone here, and my dad, he doesn't know a lot of people, they said, hey, why don't you talk with this Ivasu? They have a lot of volunteers. You know, they have a lot of college students. So I just went to the director, which I was connected to, and he said, hey, there's Was, that's my husband now, but he was like, he will be able to help you with even just getting the process and getting the license of helping women and children. So we met just in that way. But long story short, after I saw him, I was like, I think like I felt very comfortable with him, and just he was very, we were together in a sense, like just doing a lot of the surveying part of the ministry. Now that we're going to talk about it, but we start looking at what is there's a lot of poverty in Ethiopia, but there's different causes, right? So we start looking at women specifically and children, and we noticed that there's just a lot of not only hopelessness, homelessness, poverty, but there's deeper issue. So how we met is we just we were together serving. So at night we would go and just see a lot of the prostitution that's going on, a lot of sex trafficking that happens. And then we both just start getting the license to open the restoration house. So that's our story.
Yeah, that's really cool. And people who haven't been here, if you go to big cities in America, in some cities, the homeless are more obvious than other cities, right?
That's right.
But nothing like here. I mean, every street corner, every block almost has a mom holding a young child.
Begging.
Who's trying to live off of handouts through the car windows. And there has to be hundreds of thousands of them.
Yep.
Like all over, just in Addis alone. I'm sure if you go to other big cities around here, there's similar issues, but Addis in particular, I mean, you can't be white like me and walk down the street and every 10th step, be confronted with the issues of poverty and homelessness and all of that.
It's higher, more, I guess, being white for you, right? It's more, you'll see it right directly. For me, what I notice is,
well, they see me as money, so they go to me.
They run to you
right fast, you know, like
and
that.
they can't, and they usually won't tell you the deeper issue. With me, I think what helped me most is being Ethiopian and not speaking English usually around them, and just speaking Amharic and just being inside the culture and knowing it very well to the best of my ability, and knowing my husband, he was born and grew up here, so we're able to target the real poverty.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell me this, is it a bit like a class system? You know, like in India, you still have class systems. So like if you grow up in a poor family, your kids are born into a poor family, right? I mean, and it's hard to break out of that.
That's right.
Class. So like I was wondering, like women who are on the streets with these small children, did they themselves grow up on the streets? Is it almost
most likely?
Is it almost likely. Like you start there, you grow up there, you live your life there?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, like even let's say the highest paying, what's the highest paying profession would you say?
In America?
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's just say a doctor, for example.
Probably IT people who write algorithms.
No,
But at any rate, no.
So mostly, like globally, usually lawyer and doctor is high.
Right.
Here, even doctors don't get paid well. Like they get paid on a monthly basis, and it's not much. So think about the poor of the poor of the poorest. So I mean, these are the uneducated, right? Untouchable, and we don't really say untouchable here as you do in India or used to. But it's very obvious that discrimination between the
and there's not a
classes.
social system to help, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not like they have free health care. It's not like they have free dental care. It's not like they have free anything, right?
Yeah, there's
They're
nothing
literally
free.
just living on the streets trying to beg a living.
Exactly.
Literally beg a living from
Exactly.
people who happen to pass by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And for someone that could stop and do something. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
So you met your husband.
I did.
Got married.
Yeah.
Got married here.
I did.
How long have you been married?
A year and how many months? Where are we? What month are we in?
October.
So 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Year and so it's
Very
kind of
newly.
newlyweds, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you got married. Did you do 2 weddings? Did you do one in America and one in Ethiopia?
No, so my whole family actually came.
Okay.
So the whole family came. We had a really big wedding. We had just the normal white gown, and then we had the traditional. But we were invited to 17 different small wedding events.
For you?
For us.
Wow.
And it was just, but the culture here is very social and community oriented. So anybody can just tell you to come.
Yeah. I'm learning. So
Yes.
yeah, but no, very, very much social culture. Did you have the actual wedding ceremony at the Sapphire Hotel or somewhere else?
No, we did the reception.
Okay. Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, I've stayed there a few times.
Very beautiful. Yeah.
Cool. And then how long ago, like give us the vision for what you're doing in this space, because we're going to run I'm going to take a little bit of video for some B-roll to kind of show the home that you have. So you have a home here that we're in. We're in the living room.
We are.
So we're in the place where you would do your teaching with women. Tell us, give us your vision.
Okay.
And then you've just recently graduated a class of about 20 women. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, we did.
Yeah. So give us the vision, what you're doing, what you're trying to do.
So you know how I mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to see if I can help at least one person, but I feel like we've been helping a lot. So basically, seeing the amount of poverty, I came and my husband came into a conclusion that we can't help everyone, but we can target a certain group. And we noticed that women and children usually are mostly are the poor of the poorest. So we said, hey, what can we do to help them or alleviate some kind of poverty from them? So we noticed that sex trafficking is huge. So a lot of women come from the surrounding areas of Addis. So Hosanna, Awasa, the rural areas. And some of the parents would send them to the city, they're promised a job, like a waitress or something. But what ends up happening is they're in the brothels. So you see a lot of young women, like some 13, young as 13, 14, who are selling their body just to make a living.
Oh, wow.
So it's, again, caused by poverty. So if we can, I said, hey, if we can have a house, like I called now this is called the Samaritan house, based on what I saw, or from the Bible too. But we said, hey, why don't we house them so we can at least pay for their rent, pay for their food. Some of them come with no clothing, so give them clothing, but then get them into a vocational training program so they can learn to, whatever their interest is, so they can have a job once they graduate. So basically this house literally provides for anything and everything. They don't have to pay nothing. They just come in, just feel restored and loved, and just, you met our counselor, very amazing people. They just, give them hugs and just—
Hannah?
Hannah, yeah, okay. Hannah and
Nice.
TG. So they do a lot of the work, and we just love on them and just do everything we can so they don't have to live in poverty, and also not have their kids also, that generational curse you were just talking about, not having that to be continued. So
what do you call the ministry? What's the name of it?
The Springs of Living Water.
Springs of Living Water.
Yeah, or SLW.
Right out of the John 4 passage.
Exactly.
Right. And you've started a 501c3 in America so that Americans actually can give to this ministry if they are interested and want to help out. Do you have a website as well?
We do. It's www.springsoflivingwater.org.
Okay, springsoflivingwater.org. Okay, so check that out as well.
Yeah.
And so how do you've got this property that I'm on right now.
Yes.
How long have you had this property?
So we got it for, oh my goodness, 2000. Yeah. So April 2022 was actually our first group of women that came.
Okay.
And they finished their program within four months, for really 5 months. But the 4 months.
you're talking 7 months ago. So you've had this place now for about 7 months.
Yes.
Right? And this is done through donations, everything, right? Totally.
Well, I actually sold my car to start.
Okay.
So most of that, this is a rented property. We pay a lot of money.
Okay.
But starting, it was just all, and then now it's mostly donations. Yeah.
Right. So like you're literally talking food, clothing,
medical care,
dental, anything that's needed. You're trying to get all of that donated here in kind in Addis, right? And you have some supporters stateside. You obviously need to expand your support base in a big way.
Right.
So this is a brand new budding ministry.
Yeah,
and,
very new.
And so some of the folks are going to be able to see some of the B-roll that I shoot of the actual facility that you're using, housing. So you've graduated 2 groups of women now?
One group.
One group, and you're getting ready to start a second group.
Exactly.
Okay.
In 2 weeks, the new group will come in.
And tell me the process that you use to actually, process. Like, how do you determine which woman is going to get in here? And do you take children or just women without children?
Okay, very good question. So how do we determine? So I use my husband's instinct after God, of course. So he, again, like I said, he was born, he grew up here, so he knows where. Those who are the poor of the poor of the poorest. So he has a lot of connections with local churches, and not only at these, but in the rural areas, like I said. And these churches meet at a mud house. Some of the women and girls that they have at the church are literally sitting on rocks and just having Sunday service.
I've preached in some of those places.
Exactly. And some of those are the saddest, mostly, abused in all kinds of ways, those women and girls, really. So we connect with local pastors like that, and we ask them, hey, could you refer to us who are, again, the most hurting? So we get couple from different rural areas like that. But for Addis, we actually go out at doing night outreaches at night from like 10 p.m. to 2 in the morning, just my husband and myself, and we go out and give cards to the women who are actually in prostitution.
Yeah, so you're like just walking up to a gal that's on the street
Yeah.
and striking up a conversation.
Exactly.
They're either going to shoo you away or...
Mostly people do.
Yeah.
But most of them who are desperate will actually say, yes, I don't want to do this for a living. Can you help me?
Okay.
So we started making lists. So now we're going off of the list that we've already, cultivated from the past year.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how we do the outreach. So we do depend on local churches, but also we depend on our own to just go out.
So you do reconnaissance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then we determine, again, who has the worst situation. It's so sad to say that because we want to bring as many as we can.
Right.
But the house can only hold 20.
Yeah.
So we really, we can have more than you've seen it. You'll see it. But also, we want to make sure those who are in the desperate situation get help first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What was the second question?
well, you bring them in here. Are there any children?
Oh, children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are women that we do support outside of the restoration house. So they're called the non-residential program. So basically, they are living in their own facility, mostly mud houses or like a one-bedroom rented house or a rundown somewhere, but they don't want to come in because they have children.
Okay.
And we respect that. So they basically they undergo the same program, but just their location is different. So they go through the vocational training program. We give them clothing, food, we drop groceries. We basically do everything.
Wow.
Very similarly, but they're outside. Once you're
probably limited in how many outside locations.
Oh yeah,
right?
we can't have, because of just the donation.
Yeah.
If we had if you ask me if you had enough partners, I want to do sponsorship for the children, so the children can be going to school and going through the education.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get the women in here and they start the program, so you'll have maybe up to 20 women, and you have a house mama.
We do.
And a counselor now, and yourself.
Yeah.
So that's your staff.
Yes.
Working with 20 women.
Yes.
Okay. And they're living here 24/7.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're taking them through life skill training.
Exactly.
You're doing spiritual teaching.
Exactly. Counseling. Trauma healing.
Wow.
So we depend literally on volunteers from the campus ministry that my husband worked in for a long time. So we have a lot of neat people that come in on Saturdays usually and do a lot of trauma healing, counseling. We use them.
We apologize for the technical difficulties, but the wireless microphones we were using during this interview actually ran out of power, so the audio from here on out will be sourced directly from the camera microphone.
All right, so you find women either through the churches help you find the women that come into your program.
Right.
Or you and your husband go out.
We just go out every night and we just give them cards and we say, hey, if you want to get out from this kind of life, just give us a call. And they end up giving us a call.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So children, tell us a little bit about the...
Yeah, so so there's two kinds. So this is residential, right? So the Samaritan house is only for residential. For the non-residential, there's women that do not want to be here and they have kids. So we help them. They go through the same program, we pay for their rent, clothes, everything that's necessary, but they just don't live here. So I do want to start like a children's sponsorship program where we can help children so they can go to school and all that good stuff.
Awesome. So you're starting a new class in November.
Exactly.
And if people want to support you, they can go online.
They can go on www.thespringsoflivingwater.org and they can donate from there.
They can donate through there.
They can get newsletters.
Newsletter.
Exactly.
Great way to stay in touch.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is not just a prop. This is actually an Ethiopian coffee ceremony setup. The first time I came here in 2002, a friend of mine invited me over after church, and they have coals here that don't fill the room up with smoke. They're high quality coals. They roast the beans, they boil the water, they crush the beans, grind them, and then they serve an espresso drink, and then they pop popcorn, and you just talk for a couple hours, and it's beautiful. I love it.
Ethiopian coffee is so good.
It's the best.
So good.
It's the best. So we thought we would do it with this little setup of Ethiopian coffee.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for tuning in to Spirituality Adventures. We're so glad you're here. So glad you took time to listen to this. And thank you so much for sharing your story. Next time you're in Kansas City,
yes,
we'll get caught up, or next time I'm here.
We'll love that. We'll love that.
So that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
This concludes today's episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to like, share, or subscribe to the social media platform that you're using. And then go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, and make a one-time donation, or you can subscribe monthly and receive our special bonus content. Thanks so much.